I got a question from one of the subscribers to my channel as to how one can reconcile what the historical Buddha was said to have taught in terms of each person working to find the truth, to find their own path through self-power, versus the kind of teaching that Shinran communicated to his followers in terms of reliance upon other power. There are other contradictions that seem to have emerged within Buddhism that can be difficult to fathom and difficult to reconcile, such as, of course, fundamentally the whole issue of, the Hinayana versus Mahayana, or Theravada versus Mahayana kind of distinction. I guess I wanted to weigh in and sort of share the notion that aren't all of these different approaches simply expedient means in the context of the teaching of the Lotus Sutra toward Buddhahood for all of us through methods that each of us as individuals can relate to as a function of our own karma, if you will, our own histories, our own abilities, our own ways of thinking, our own needs, spiritual needs. Isn't that what the Buddha wanted to do, is to express his compassion through providing a variety of means, different models of the raft, if you will, that then are available to anyone who aspires and accessible to anyone who aspires and can be boarded, a raft that can be boarded, a vehicle that can be boarded by anyone and by everyone. Now, one person asked me to share a little bit more about why I chose the path I did, which is Shin Buddhism, or Jodo Shinshu, faith in Amida Buddha, faith in Dharmakara's vow, that by simply, thinking upon him, by saying the Nembutsu even one time with faith, that I feel that my destiny is reborn. My destiny is set to be reborn in his pure land of bliss when I die. Now, why did I choose that? The reason I chose it is twofold, I'll say, is that one is that I tried the Bodhisattva path and couldn't hack it. And I certainly was not suited to, given the time of my life when I had my religious conversion and the nature of the circumstances that I was in, was not able to, pick up and go to a monastery and become a monk, or go off into the forests of Thailand, or the more isolated areas that admirably some Theravada and Buddhist monks are able to reside in order to accomplish their arhatship, their enlightenment, their profound ability to see the illusion of ego and the relative nature of the skandhas. I was not able to do that, and I could have further pursued, I suppose, the Bodhisattva path, but again, I pursued it even to the extent of largely giving up my professional activities. I'll tell you, frankly, I actually, at some point, when I was deep into the devotion to Amida Buddha, but still hung up on the notion that I had to demonstrate that devotion through some kind of constant repetition of the Nembutsu, again, largely left my professional activities, went to work in a factory on third shift, so that I could focus exclusively on a worshipful, devotional kind of orientation within my mind. But, it took me a while to realize that, number one, as I say, I was unable to pursue another path, a path of self-power, or even a path of spiritual devotion to the extent that, maybe within the context of another tradition that some Christian contemplatives or mystics have been able to accomplish through their efforts. And on the other side of the coin, what I realized was I wanted to adopt an approach that anybody could follow. And clearly, Shin Buddhism is an approach of, as Alfred Bloom puts it, pure grace. It was consistent with my genuine experience in my conversion, in my awakening, if you will, outside the context of any particular religious system or doctrine. But that again, as I got deeper and deeper into the Mahayana, I realized that the best I could do would be to have faith in Amida Buddha and praise him, praise his name. And, as far as what other people would want to do, it's up to them, but I knew that this path was accessible to anybody that wanted to explore it and pursue it and commit themselves to it. Keeping in mind, again, as I've said in other videos, that really, as Shinran articulated, that it's really Amida calling to us, rather than I say I chose, but I didn't choose. Amida chose me, as he chooses many others, to encourage them to have faith in him and rely on him for their rebirth. Now, one other perspective on this whole matter of reconciliation that I want to express is to remind folks who may have doubts or questions about the important fundamental notion of non-duality. When we think in terms of other power versus self-power, Theravada versus Mahayana, this versus that, that's dualistic thinking, isn't it? And so, it's in our nature, given that we are thinking beings, and we tend to, orient ourselves dualistically because, that's how have evolved, if you will, and it's been a very useful aspect of our evolution in order to be able to, navigate the mundane world. But when it comes to spiritual matters, isn't this a time to, kind of transcend those dualistic differentiations and realize that, we really are all in the same boat, and we really all do need to get on that same great vehicle to get to that other shore, and to make sure everybody gets on that great ship to be able to transcend and get past that sea of suffering to the land of bliss, which, in an ultimate sense, as Zen Buddhists would say, is here and now. And if we can experience that and have the discipline to really be mindful of the present, such as is so popular nowadays, in the context of all the emphasis on meditation and mindfulness, that's wonderful. That really is wonderful. But, gosh, when you look at all the people suffering in the world and the people's different circumstances that they have to face, it's only a very small percentage that can take that particular path and have any success with it. So, anyway, those are some thoughts, both in terms of reconciling some of these apparent differences, as well as giving a little more personal take on, why I ended up with the path that I've embraced. I've embraced the path, but the nature of the path is that Amida has embraced me, never to be forsaken, and I'm grateful for that. Namo Amida Butsu.